Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 13, Episode 27, overall 687 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can also call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family-run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969 and has been a proud sponsor of this show for the last 3.5 years. And for everyone out there watching and listening to our show right now, the late Barry Cullen actually played for the Red Wings in the late 60s and early 70s as well. So there was a little bit of a Red Wing connection with the late Barry Cullen and the Detroit Red Wings. I hope everyone's doing well on this Monday, March 30th, 2026. Crazy time of the year for sports. March Madness going on. Major League Baseball starting up. Obviously, NHL getting close to the playoffs, and the NBA's in a stretch run as well. And I'm looking forward to my guest today. He is an eight-time Emmy award-winning reporter and host in his 25-plus year career covering the Detroit Red Wings and the Detroit Tigers for Fox Sports Detroit, Bally Sports, and Fan Sports Dual Network in Detroit as well. And he's also the recipient of the 2020 Ty Tyson Award winner from the Detroit Sports Broadcasters Association in 2020. And I'm proud to bring on Dresden, Ontario native Trevor Thompson. Good evening, Trevor. How are you?
Chris, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on your show.
I hope that opening was okay for you.
Yeah, that was great. Absolutely. Great introduction. I appreciate you.
So, hey, I want to say thank you so much for giving us some time today to come on our show. And congratulations on an amazing career. Being from Dresden, Ontario, I had an aunt that used to live up in Wardsville, which isn't far from Dresden. And Dresden led to what? Kitchener, and then to Vancouver, and then you went to Toronto, and then Detroit, correct?
Exactly. Yep. That is the path indeed. And I spent many years in Kitchener, went to college there, spent time after there. My son lives there right now. So very familiar with the KW area, Guelph area, and been up there many times up the 401. So I know where you're at as well.
When you were growing up in Dresden, when did you get the bug for media broadcasting?
Wow, I didn't get the bug for media broadcasting until I was in my mid-20s, and I was sort of soul searching. I was in the financial planning business at the time, and I wasn't satisfied with it. I was making money, and I was miserable, and I couldn't figure out why, and I had to figure out exactly what it was going to take to make me happy. And I knew that if you did something, Confucius say, if you do a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that made a whole lot of sense to me. And then I just thought, what could I do that I love that really wouldn't be work? And I watched sports talk and sports shows and sports highlight shows back in the day every night of the week. And it just came to me. Actually, a gentleman that used to work in the Detroit area was popular on CNN. Fred Hickman was on CNN Sports Nightly with Nick Charles back in the day. And I remember distinctly sitting there watching one of their shows one night and watching Fred, and he was struggling through an intro. And I just said to myself, I could do that. He's sitting in my chair. I want to do that. And then the light bulb came on. If I could do anything in the world, that's what it would be. I'd be a sportscaster. That sounds like a lot of fun. Get paid to go to games, get paid to talk sports all day. It made a lot of sense to me. So in that moment, I birthed the idea that I'd like to be a sportscaster. And then from there on, just chased it down. I graduated in social work. I didn't go to school for this. I just decided to take a path that I thought would make me happy. And all these years later, here we are.
And how I got into media was volunteering with a local semi-pro basketball team 6 years ago. They needed someone to do camera work. Never done it in my life. And after the game, they actually paid me for the camera work. The camera work led me to going to Rogers TV. I did camera work for the Guelph Storm for a couple years, and then started up my own podcast show, and then went to radio. And ever since then, I've been loving doing it, just being at the right place at the right time.
It's great to do what you love, isn't it? It really is.
Trevor, being in Detroit for over 25 years, did you ever get to meet the late, great Fred McLeod before he went over to Cleveland?
I worked with Freddie for years. The Fox Sports Detroit had Pistons right back in the day, and Fred was our play-by-play guy. And just a wonderful human being. His wife, Beth, just wonderful, wonderful couple, wonderful people. Miss him dearly. Hell of a broadcaster, hell of a friend, just a great guy. Miss him dearly. And yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I worked with Fred for years, and I'm better for it.
And I'm friends with his wife, Beth, as well. And I have one regret. I never got to meet Fred, when he passed away, unfortunately, much too young. But he at least got to call a NBA championship for his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers as well. And Detroit's had so many great broadcasters over the years, Trevor, especially with Ken Daniels and Dan Dickerson and Paul Woods and just Mickey Redman. It's just legendary guys in that city.
Wow. And I'm not slighting anyone you name, but when I moved to Detroit, two guys really jumped to mind for me. And that was Ernie Harwell calling Tiger games when I first got here, and George Blaha. Those two were the voices of my youth. When I watched sports, I'm just from an hour away from Detroit on the Canadian side of the border. And growing up watching those two, listening to those two, and then having an opportunity to work alongside them for a number of years, actually, before Ernie passed away. And George is still doing the job. And when I first met George, I just had to tell him, I don't remember watching basketball at all without watching you. And the same goes for Tiger baseball and having the opportunity to work with Ernie Harwell. So those guys really stuck out. The names you mentioned, all great broadcasters in this city. And you need to be, because this is, in my opinion, the greatest sports city in North America right now, certainly in the U.S. If you want to talk hockey, maybe we can talk some cities in Canada. However, it's a fantastic sports town. Got fantastic athletes here, fantastic broadcasters, fantastic media that cover the teams. It's been a great landing spot, and I've only been blessed to be here for as long as I have and be a part of the sports scene here in Detroit.
Growing up here in Ontario in the 70s and early 80s, I used to listen to the Pistons games on WWJ 950 on the radio. It was all staticky being in Guelph, but I used to love listening to George Blaha, and I still listen to Mark Champion too, and he's another terrific broadcaster. And being a Philadelphia Eagles fan, Merle Reese has covered the Eagles as long as George Blaha. It's just amazing.
Oh, wow.
50 years of with the same team as the play-by-play announcer. Those two are just legendary broadcasters.
And I go back to what I said earlier. You do a job you love, you never work a day in your life. So those guys don't feel like they've ever worked, which is why they're still doing it. They have a lot of joy in the job that they do. They bring a lot of joy to their audiences. They have a passion for the sport that they work in and a passion for the community and the city that they work in. And they don't want to stop. You're going to have to drag them kicking and screaming out of the chair. And that goes for anybody in this business. We love what we do. And you know that, Chris. So I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But for the audience out there, you wonder why someone stays around for that long. It's because of how much they love their work and how much it means to them and the passion that they have for it. So kudos to those guys going out that long. If you can call your shot and you can go that long, I'd take that deal right now.
Trevor, what advice would you give to those people that are watching this live stream or on audio later that are looking to get into TV, radio, or media, or even behind the scenes crews from your experience?
Persevere. That would be my advice. If you want to get into this, Chris, you and I both got into this because we had a passion for it. We took our own direction. I didn't go to school for it. I just decided it's what I wanted to do. And along the way, there were a lot of bumps, a lot of hiccups, a lot of twists and turns in the road that you don't expect. But if you just stay the course and stay with it, regardless of what comes in your path, you'll eventually get to where you're going. Do whatever you can along the way. Take every opportunity available to you behind the scenes or whatever it might be to learn, to network, to grow your network, and to just hone your craft. But persevere over everything else, and you'll eventually get to exactly where you want to go if you believe in yourself and you want it bad enough.
Trevor, did you have any influences and mentors when you first started going into broadcasting?
I had several, actually. The guy that got me my first job in broadcasting is Ron McLean of Hockey Night in Canada. A friend of mine, Scott North, we grew up in a town of 2,500 people, Dresden, Ontario. We grew up together. We're the same age and known each other all our lives. Well, he wound up with what we thought was the greatest job ever. He was the keeper of the cup back in the day. The guy that travels around with the Stanley Cup, is on the ice when they award it, travels wherever it goes around the country when guys have their cup day, all those kinds of things. He was the keeper of the cup. I decided when I got into sports broadcasting, I called him and I asked him, who can you put me in touch with that could give me some advice on how to get into this and how to start and where to go along the way? Similar to what you asked me, what's your best advice? And he put me in touch with Ron McLean. And Ron McLean took me out to lunch. We had a great conversation. And he said, I told him I was moving to Toronto. He said, when you get to Toronto, you give me a call, let me know how I can help you out, and we'll go from there. So when I moved to Toronto, I got in touch with Ron McLean, and he got me a job as a runner on Hockey Night in Canada with him and Don Cherry, grabbing their coffee, getting them stats between periods, helping do whatever needed to be done on game night down at Maple Leaf Gardens, which the first time I walked in there just blew me away. Couldn't believe I was there and that this was going to be my place to work. So my very first job in the business was working alongside Ron McLean and Don Cherry, and Ron was a mentor to this very day. The way he went about his craft, the humility that he had, the talent that he had, the passion he has for the job, took all those things, learned how to prepare for a broadcast, learned how to interview athletes, learned how to be in that environment, learned all those things in my very first job with Ron McLean on Hockey Night in Canada. So he's the first one that comes to mind, Chris.
My former career, I used to work at Woodbine Racetrack in Toronto. I did security there for 24 years. And at the end, Trevor, I was looking at the time clock at the end. I was getting paid well, but I wasn't happy. And during the pandemic, I started looking at a new career. And I find that career in security prepare me for this, because when you're in security, you got to deal with every walk of life. You have to learn how to talk, but also listening skills, empathy as well. But to me, listening skills are the biggest thing. And a couple of my early guests who came on my show, I never thought would come on. Chuck Swirsky from the Bulls, Eric Smith from the Raptors, Jerry Howarth from the Blue Jays. And they all give me some good advice and feedback that I've used to apply. Have a natural conversation. You can write notes and points down, but have a natural conversation, and also how important listening skills are for every show you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Take all those things to heart and certainly apply them along the way for anybody who wants to get into this business. You mentioned Woodbine Raceway, another good friend of mine who happens to be from Dresden, Ontario. Give a shout out to Gary Patterson, who's the track announcer at Woodbine to this very day. Another guy who has a passion for broadcasting, was also calling Chatham Maroons games while they were in the playoffs most recently as well. So Gary Patterson, Dresden, Ontario, shout out to you, and Woodbine Raceway, as Chris brings that up.
Speaking of Dresden, it's not far from Chatham. There's talk about the Ontario Hockey League possibly going to Chatham. Do you think Chatham is big enough to support an Ontario Hockey League franchise if they build a new arena?
It's not the biggest city around southwestern Ontario, but I'll tell you what, it's got a lot of passion for hockey in that city. Dave Gagne from Chatham, Ontario, Jeff Jackson from Dresden, Ontario, but playing all kinds of hockey around there, made it to the NHL. Ken Houston made it to the NHL from around there. TJ Brody, most recently from that area, got to the NHL. It's a very, very passionate hockey community around there. And although it might not be big, they will show up. They will support that team. And if you're looking to build a season's ticket base, and that's what it's going to take to get a team to come there, the folks will buy those season's tickets. They will show up, and that'll be a rowdy, rowdy fan base if they do get a team in Chatham. So not the biggest center around, but it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And Chatham has got a lot of fight when it comes to hockey.
What was it like being introduced into the 2025 Dresden Sports Hall of Fame?
That was something I never saw coming in all my years. I just mentioned a couple guys from around that area, but there were all kinds of hockey legends, sports legends that came from around there. And to be inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame in my hometown after 25 years of working in this area and just having enough good fortune to be this close to home really meant a lot to me on the way. To be able to drive an hour and a half, see my parents, see my friends, have my parents or my friends come across the border, come to Tiger games or Red Wing games and hang out and be that close to home and take home with me and have them be a part of this journey with me meant a lot. So for them to recognize me in that way was very special. On that night, what also made it special was Rod Black came and was the master of ceremonies. And I worked with Rod Black when I was in Canada, and I was working with Grizzlies basketball when I lived out west, and in Toronto, working with Rod Black on CTV was a big he's another mentor along the way for me. That was a big part of my life. And then Joe Koser from around Detroit came and was telling stories that night as well. And they showed up and were part of the induction ceremonies that night. So to have Rod Black and Joe Koser be a part of that night in my hometown and meet my family and friends and have a really, really good time. Rod came out with us and shut the bar down in Dresden. We were there. Let's just say it was a late night affair, but we had a lot of fun. And to have him and have Joey and have those guys come to town and spend time with my family and friends and to have those kinds of memories is something I'm never going to forget. It's a very special time for sure.
Rod Black has been on my show 4 times. I met him at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. He's one of the nicest guys. He always gives me time, and he has a book coming out, Rod Black, 40 Years in Sports Broadcasting in a Few Beers, and it'll be out on May 19th. So if you're a fan of Rod Black, check out his book. And I wanted to ask you this too.
And his son's in the MLB right now. His son's playing Major League Baseball. So shout out to him. He produced an MLB baseball player, not another broadcaster. He's got some good baseball genes.
Tyler Black, and his other son plays in the now the Canadian Baseball League. It used to be the Intercounty Baseball League. They switched it over to a semi-pro baseball league. And Trevor, since you're Canadian, how much has Canadian baseball evolved and improved over the last 10 years?
Tremendously. It's taken off. And I go back to the days when Larry Walker was a Canadian hero and really one of the only Canadians in the league at the time. And I'm from an area, Chatham, you know this, Chris, Fergie Jenkins area, another baseball Hall of Famer, and certainly renowned in that area. We take a lot of pride in Fergie being from our area. So baseball was always one of my passions growing up. Had a lot of fun playing baseball. There weren't as many Canadian baseball players along the way as we hoped that there would be. But now, not only in baseball, but you look in the NBA, Canadians are taking over as well. So I think that it's almost like it's a new discovery. They're just discovering Canada now and some of the fine athletes that are there. And it's a long time coming, but well-deserved for those athletes in both sports that are Canadian and really representing our country well. Trevor,
how did you come about being the in-house announcer and sideline reporter for the NBA's Vancouver Grizzlies and Canucks? And what do you remember about your first ever interview? And what do you feel the NBA did not work out in Vancouver?
It's a funny story. It's a funny story about my first interview for that job in Vancouver. I was working at TSN in Toronto. I was working behind the scenes. We called it The Row, and that's where we would watch games every night, write the highlights for the announcers. Once in a while, they let us go watch a game, go in the locker room, get the sound bites after for the station that night to air. But I was working there, and that's when the Grizzlies first came on board, and I applied for the sideline reporter job. I got an interview, and I flew out to Vancouver to meet with the guy that was running the show there at the time. His name was Chris Hebb. Well, the airline lost my luggage along the way, and my interview was at 8:30 the next morning. So I had to show up at this meeting with flip-flops on, a T-shirt, and sandals. And I walked in there, and I said, the airline lost my luggage. He thought it was the greatest story ever, but we hit it off right off the bat. Before I left, he says, "You're my guy. I'm hiring you. You've got the job. Make plans to move to Vancouver." And that was one of the highlights of my life, living in Vancouver for 3 years, covering the Grizzlies, covering the Canucks, being a part of their in-house presentation. And that was my first time on air, having the opportunity to be on air, to work behind the scenes and be a bigger part of the production crew for both of those teams out there and live in Vancouver at the time. It was a fabulous time in my life, but that was my first gig and first interview for that back in the day. I think that was 1992, something like no, wow. 95.
Do you feel if Vince Carter was with Vancouver instead of the Raptors, Vancouver would have survived?
I don't know that it was ever going to survive in Vancouver. It's like no one wanted to play there. I don't understand why. It's one of the most beautiful cities in North America. For anybody who's ever been there, and it's somebody who's never been there, go. Vancouver is amazing. But I think there was something about playing in Canada that the NBA didn't want to do in that situation at the time. People didn't want to come there. I remember Mike Bibby didn't want to come there. Otis Thorpe, former Piston, got traded there, was never happy there. A lot of things went wrong. The fans loved the game, but business-wise, it didn't work out with the economics and the dollar at the time and folks not wanting to play in Vancouver. So they got a better offer. They moved off to Memphis, and it's been that way. But I think the diehard fans in Vancouver to this very day miss that team. The days of Big Country Reeves and Sharif Abdur-Rahim.
Trevor, any plans in the future to publish your own book from your own career?
I've thought about writing a sports book, but not about me. No one wants to hear about me. So I got a lot of stories, but again, that's not about me. I was just in the way along the way. So I've had plans for a sports book. I've dabbled in it here and there in my private, quiet moments on the road over the years, but haven't released that yet. There's a long way to go to finish it, but it won't be an autobiography. That I can assure you.
Can you tell us about how you came about your podcast show with former Lion Glover, I think Glover Quinn, Believe in Lions podcast? How did that come about?
Yeah, Glover Quinn, former All-Pro safety here in Detroit, one of the fan favorites. He was the Media Nice Guy Award winner by the Detroit Sports Broadcasters Association a couple of years running when he was a player here in Detroit. So he's a big part of this community. A big part of this community is still in him. He lives in Houston now. Fantastic guy to work with. Great football knowledge and a passion for the game. So I've had a lot of fun doing that podcast with him. But they were looking for someone to co-host with Glover because the other co-host that was in my spot before that left to do something else. And they had a vacancy there. And oddly enough, the gentleman that runs, Eric Weinberger, the guy that runs the Believe Network and puts these people in place as co-hosts on the show, called me to do a Red Wings show several years earlier. It didn't work out for us, but then he came back to me and asked me if I would do a Lions show. And at that time, FanDuel Sports Network was kind of winding up, going through this whole bankruptcy thing. Our jobs were going away. And I said, I got nothing else going on. Why not, Eric? Let's do this. I guess the timing's right. So for the last year, I've been doing that. I've been having a lot of fun doing it. I learned a lot about not only podcasting, but a lot more about just this business and how that works. And that's really added to just my overall worldview of where sports is going and how all that fits in and how to get better at it, how to sell it, those kinds of things on the business side were valuable lessons for me. But to have the opportunity to just to stay out there, keep my hand in sports while I was looking for the next step in my career or what's next around the corner, the next chapter in life, that was a really, really great opportunity to seize. And I'm glad that I did that. Having a lot of fun with it.
How often you guys record an episode? Do you have guests on? And when's your next episode?
Yeah, I'm doing an episode on Wednesday. Right now we're doing one a week through the offseason leading up to the draft right now. That's going to be exciting for the Lions. But during the season, we did them twice a week, a preview show and then a review show. Unfortunately, we thought we'd be talking about a team that was on its way to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and we were all geeked up for that, and it didn't happen here in Detroit. They're going to have to regroup and come back and do that again next year, but we'll be here to document all of that along the way. I really had a lot of fun watching the Lions a little more closely than I had because my schedule had me following the Red Wings, following the Tigers, and following a number of other things, and the travel didn't allow me to really sink my teeth into the team like I did this year. So a lot to really look forward to with the Lions, I think, coming up this year. A new offensive coordinator, certainly Dan Campbell, is going to be chomping at the bit to get back in there, but being a part of that broadcast, it brings me closer to that, and it's just been entertaining along the way.
Being a Philadelphia Eagles fan, we were supposed to meet you guys 2 years ago in the NFC Championship game. Washington spoiled that, and then Philly just ran over Washington and Kansas City. This year, the Eagles were supposed to get back to the Super Bowl, and they got put out in the first round. So both the Eagles and Lions had disappointing seasons, and hopefully this year they can meet in the NFC Championship game. And it just shows you, Trevor, how hard it is to win year after year in sports.
Yeah, it's difficult in every sport. And these guys, when you see them behind the scenes, day in and day out, and the time they put into it, what they go through with the travel, the grind that every sport is. And I used to look at baseball and think playing baseball was easy until I started covering baseball and having to travel. 162 games in 181 days with all that travel and the wear and tear on the body and getting into the hotels late at night, getting up to play the next day, year over year. It really, really is a grind. It really does wear on you. And then just the physicality of football. It's a battle of attrition week over week over week. How these guys do it mentally and physically for a 10-year career, I'm just amazed. And hockey the same way, what you put your body through. So I have a tremendous, tremendous amount of respect for what these athletes put into the craft, how much talent it takes, how much perseverance, again, there's that word, how much perseverance it takes to get to where you want to go as a pro athlete. I take my hat off to them. Watching them up close and behind the scenes has been an eye-opening experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I have just so much respect for what these guys do and what they put into their craft and into their minds and bodies in order to do it.
How much does the city of Detroit love their sports? And I was able to get an NFL media pass a couple years ago for the draft in Detroit, and that was just amazing. I was in awe of 275,000 people, and I know Detroit loves all their teams, but to me, Detroit Lions are the number one team in that city.
Tiger fans might say, hold my beer. Red Wing fans would say the same thing. If they do win a Super Bowl, they'll burn this city to the ground. There's no doubt about it. They've been so long suffering in order to get there. So I hope that happens sooner rather than later. And certainly it's a rabid fan base. That building, I used to cover the Lions back in the day up close, and I would travel to road games. We did a show called the Black and Blue Preview. So I got an opportunity to go to a number of football stadiums across the country for several years. This is no hyperbole at all. Detroit, Ford Field, one of the loudest buildings I've ever been in for football across the NFL. The fans here are passionate. They get that building rocking. I really do think it is a home field advantage for this team. But I think I would say the same thing about every one of the buildings in the city. When the Pistons won the world title in 2004, that place, it's a wonder it's still left standing. They blew the roof off the Palace back then. When the Red Wings were winning Stanley Cups back in 2002 and 2008, the Joe was just off the chains. And then Comerica Park, the last couple of years, the last couple opportunities that the Tigers had to get to the World Series, just bonkers downtown. So how much does this city love its sports team? I think as much as any city anywhere I've ever been that has a passion for sports. And I think they're rewarded from time to time. When they're not rewarded, like I say, they're long suffering with their teams. They are diehard fans in this city. They're not fair weather fans, I guess you'd say. They have a deep, deep, deep passion for their teams here. I think that's what makes us a tremendous sports city.
Any similarities from being in Toronto to Detroit?
Two completely different places. I think this place, Detroit, just appreciates and demands a little more blue collar than the teams in Toronto. I think there's a little more grit and grind. It was one of the Lions, Dan Campbell, grit. You know, this is one of the things they really base their culture on. I think it reflects the city. So I think there's a little more grind to the city of Detroit than there is to Toronto, which is a marvelous city, just not the same. It's a completely different vibe in both places.
Trevor, quick thoughts on the Detroit Red Wings, the Pistons, the Tigers, and Lions, because it's been a long time since Detroit had four teams that were winners and competitive all at the same time in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's fun. It must be hard on the fans because you got to decide who you want to spend your money on. You know, if a team is down for a couple of years, maybe you'll decide to go and cheer on the winner with your sports dollars, and you'll just watch from home and cheer from home for the team while they're suffering in the other sport. But right now, all those teams are really gelling right now. And all those teams, especially the Pistons, to come back from what they've come back from over the last couple of years and be the team they are right now, it's really caught the city by storm. I think that there's Piston fever in this team. This city, I think they're ready to take the next step and push this even further in the playoffs. And the city is going to be there every step of the way. I think that people anticipated a Red Wings playoff rebirth. It's iffy right now. It's going to be tough to get in, but they're right there pushing this team, demanding more of this team on the nights they're not seeing it right now. They want it so bad, and they're demanding it so bad. That's why you hear the boos at Little Caesars Arena. Give us more because we want to get there. So I think the fan base is going to continue to push them the rest of the way through the playoffs in the NHL. The Tigers, they might have the Rookie of the Year in baseball, what Kevin McGonigal's doing right out of the box right now. People are fired up for that. Justin Verlander's back in town. Scooble's coming off a couple of Cy Youngs. They are on fire for the Tigers in this city right now. And the Lions, not getting to the playoffs last year, might have been the biggest disappointment in the city. So they're looking to bounce back, as I just mentioned, with Dan Campbell. They're not going to, want another year to go by to not be in the playoffs. So I think they're really going to push, and the city's going to be behind them. But there's just so much to cheer for right now, so many exciting stories here, and we're here for it.
Just quick thoughts on the Detroit Red Wings, because there's been times this year this Red Wings teams can beat anybody in the league, and then there's times where they just don't seem to. The word I'm going to use with them, Jekyll and Hyde, are inconsistent.
It's been that way, and it's tough to be consistent year in and year out, night in and night out. I really hope that they find a way to push. This is a resilient team. You've seen them on nights that they don't have it, the next night bounce back and show out, get the 2 points, and continue to stay right in the hunt. It's not going to be easy for any team down the stretch right now. Some teams have been hot, and they faltered lately. Some teams have been cold, and now they're picking up a little bit of steam, and some people have been up and down. It's all going to find its way in the end. Water's going to find its level, and we're just hoping that the Red Wings, find themselves above sea level, get themselves into the playoffs right now. But it's not going to be easy. I'm here for it. I just wish that they would just find a way to find that consistency night in, night out, string some wins together, ride some momentum all the way into the playoffs, and then really be a tough out for somebody in the first round. We'll see how it all shakes out, though.
hopefully they can get in there, because Buffalo is going to end their 14-year playoff streak.
Yep.
So the Red Wings would take over that. So the Red Wings have 8-9 games left, and they're down by 2 points, but they got a number of teams ahead of them. So they got to start taking care of business soon. And Pittsburgh tomorrow night on the road, by the way.
Yeah, and they played Philadelphia twice down the stretch, 2 more times. That's a team that's chasing them right now. You talk about Buffalo, great story, but the Montreal Canadiens, again, one of the more talented young teams. They're going to certainly be a challenge for the Red Wings for the next several years. And then the Ottawa Senators are pushing too. There's no lack of competition right now for those final couple of spots. Even Columbus Blue Jackets, you talk about them, another team that's been hot down the stretch that are going to provide a lot of competition down the stretch. So a lot of competition to get those final couple of spots. You got to win your game. So hopefully that game in Pittsburgh will be 2 more points. Those games against the Flyers will be 2 more points. And a couple of teams will help out along the way. And we'll see how it all shakes out. And hopefully it's a playoff berth here in Detroit.
Trevor, do you got time for 2 more minutes? 2 more.
Yeah, I got
2
you.
minutes. 2 more minutes. Buffalo, great sports city. Dan Danlevy's a friend of mine. He was on my show recently, and he also wanted me to say hi to you as well.
Oh, great guy. I love Dan. And him and Martin Biron. Yep, great guys.
And I was able to meet Joe Bowen this summer in Toronto. I do some freelance media coverage of the Toronto Argonauts, and his son Sean works for the Argonauts. And I got to meet Joe and congratulate him on his 44-year career. It's just a shame that he never got to call a Stanley Cup finals.
Yeah, it's a shame they're going out like this for him in his last year. Joe Bowen is a great guy. Jim Ralph, 2 real characters of the game. Love every time I have an opportunity to spend time with those guys. Had the opportunity to work closely with them when I worked in Toronto way back in the day. They're still there, still getting it done, entertaining their audience. But yeah, tough year for those guys and Toronto Maple Leaf fans everywhere this time around.
Trevor, and finally, what were some of your most memorable games that you covered in your 25-year plus career as a reporter, host, and anchor with the Red Wings and Tigers coverage? And are you still doing some games part-time, right? Correct?
Yeah. I've got 4 more games left the rest of the season. But if we're going backwards and looking at some of the highlights along the way, certainly the Red Wings winning the Stanley Cup twice while I've been here, those nights were special. In one of my favorite photos that I use I play fantasy hockey, and my avatar is me drinking out of the cup with Dan Cleary pouring it up into my mouth. That was a fantastic memory in Pittsburgh while we speak of Pittsburgh. But looking back, those were special nights. Certainly when the Pistons knocked out the Lakers in 2004 and won the NBA championship right here in Detroit at the Palace, to be on the floor doing interviews in the midst of all that certainly stands out as another one of my top memories. But Justin Verlander, I was on hand for 2 of his no-hitters, and one of those was in Toronto, and one was here in Detroit. Those were very, very special moments as well when I look back. So I guess those would probably be like the top 5 right there when you want to look back at some of the highlights.
Hey, Trevor, as we wrap this up, finally, where can our audience follow you on social media, your next Red Wing game, and your next podcast, where our audience can tune into your next podcast with Glover Quinn?
Yeah, at Trevor, at I am Trevor T. That's at I am Trevor T on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Threads, and Instagram. And my next podcast is going to be Wednesday, Believe in Lions with Glover Quinn. We're going to talk a little bit more about the upcoming draft. And my next Red Wings game is going to be at home on April the 7th. Looking forward to that. Those games are going to be very, very meaningful down the stretch. Got the blood already pumping as far as getting ready for that broadcast. So that's what's coming up.
And hey, by the way, I do have family in Michigan and Taylor, Michigan, and they are the reasons I became a Red Wing Tigers Pistons fan, but I never became a Lions fan. And just quick thoughts: March Madness. Does Michigan win it all?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to be a homer on this one and just say yes. Come on, go blue. Let's get it done. Absolutely. Why not, right? It's going to be somebody. Why not?
It's a great time of the year for sports. And by the way, a lot of your guys, Dan Miller, Jen Hammond, Brad Galley, who's leaving Channel 7, have all been guests on my show. I've been very, very, very lucky. It's the guests that make a great show. And I thought I'd reach out to you, Trevor, and I want to say thank you so much for coming on here and continue success in your career. And hopefully maybe we can have you back on here again in the future at some point.
Well, Chris, thanks for having me among all those wonderful guests that you just named. I really do appreciate it. It's been an honor to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it.
All right, everyone. That wraps up season 13, episode 27, overall 687 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Row West in the Guelph Automall. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership, right now they have a special going on there, and it is the federal EV rate. Sorry, the federal EV rebate is back. You can get up to $5,000 off the purchase of your new Chevrolet EV. More details are available at Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership. Pop by the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Row West in the Guelph Automall, or you can check out their website, barrycullen.com, or call them at 519-824-0210. Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership is family run and operated here in Guelph since 1969 and has been a proud sponsor of this show for the last 3.5 years. As we wrap up this show, guys, I have a little clip for my YouTube channel for a fundraiser coming up at the Cambridge District Humane Society. And I'm going to play this clip right now. I'm here, dog walker and fundraiser with the Cambridge District Humane Society, and they have a special event taking place on Saturday, April 11th, 2026 from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern at the Cambridge Newfoundland Club, located at 1500 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. The event is called Prohibition Speakeasy Fundraising Event. Tickets are only $75, and the proceeds go back into the programs at the Cambridge District Humane Society. You can get your tickets at cambridgehumanesociety.org, or you can call the shelter at 519-623-7722, extension 0. Ask for Zach or Kat, or you can drop by the Cambridge District Humane Society, 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, and see Zach and Kat. And hopefully we'll see you at the event on Saturday, April 11th at the Cambridge Newfoundland Club. Come support the Cambridge District Humane Society. Thank you. That clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel, Chris Palme, Live with CDP Talk Show. Please subscribe, like, and share as well. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. All the animals that are up for adoption, their profiles are on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And if you're interested in volunteering like I do twice a week, fill out a volunteer application form at cambridgehumanesociety.org. They do great work down there. They just recently had Daisy and Christopher, who had been down there for 6-7 months, recently adopted as well. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys at the Prohibition fundraiser on Saturday, April 11th, 2026 from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. If you're a business and you would like to donate a prize for their silent auction at the Prohibition Speakeasy fundraiser, you can contact Zach at the Cambridge District Humane Society, 519-623-7722, extension 0, or talk to Kat as well, or you can email me directly at cpalme19@gmail.com. And as we wrap up the show, guys, I have some questions. The first one is from Robbie Schneider. Robbie has got his own podcast show in Buffalo, New York, called the 716 Sports Blizzard Podcast. I was on Robbie's show last night. Thank you, Robbie, for having me on. And Robbie's a big Sabres Bandits fan as well. And as we wrap up this show, guys, I have another announcement to make, and I'm looking forward to it. The next Small Talk podcast. The next Small Talk podcast, season 4, episode 3, with co-hosts Chris Palme and Marlene Sharp, is going to take place on Tuesday, March 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern with special guest Diane Strand. She is the founder of JDS Studios and an award-winning executive producer. So make sure you check out the Small Talk podcast tomorrow night, Tuesday, March 31st, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 on the West Coast, as Marlene Sharp and myself, Chris Palme, will have Diane Strand on as well as a guest. And Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show will return on Thursday and Friday as well. So I have a busy week ahead of me. And for the months of March, 17 Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk shows and 1 Small Talk podcast show. So for the months of March, 18 shows. And I want to say thank you to you, the audience, for watching this show live stream or listening to it on the audio platforms. And I really appreciate your support. And it's a great feeling to see my audience grow on live streaming and also on my audio platforms as well. And as we wrap up this show, guys, again, you can follow Trevor Thompson he can follow him on LinkedIn at Trevor Thompson on LinkedIn. And he's also on Twitter X. I am Trevor on X.com. And his podcast show with Grover Quinn is on Apple Podcasts, Believe in Lions, and also on YouTube at Believe In. So make sure you check out Trevor Thompson on his Twitter X page, Apple Podcasts, and also on YouTube. And his next episode this week coming up with Quinn Grover. And again, Trevor Thompson's an 8-time Michigan Regional Emmy Award winner for reporting and hosting, and also received the 2020 Ty Tyson Award from the Detroit Sports Broadcasters Association. So big thanks to Trevor Thompson for coming out on the show today. Speaking of Cameo, I am on Cameo. If you'd like a personalized video message from yours truly, CDP, go to cameo.com, type in Chris Pame. I do happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy Hanukkah, congratulations. If you want to talk sports with me, ask me who some of my favorite interviews are, go to cameo.com, type in Chris Pame, and book your Cameo today. You can follow me on Blue Sky Social. Blue Sky Social is what Twitter X used to be like. At Live with CDP19 on Blue Sky Social, and I do post quite often there as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. And I'm hoping eventually to have this on TikTok one of these days as well. You can also follow my little mini website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame, all my social media sites, all my media work, and you can listen to some of my shows on beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. Speaking of TikTok, you can follow me on TikTok at Chris Pame. I post a lot of content on TikTok, so make sure you follow, share, and like on TikTok at Chris Pame. And it's been a great platform, TikTok, and I am almost at 1,700 followers now. So please make sure you check me out on TikTok at Chris Pame. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars, live streaming, or podcasting talk shows, StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans, and also if you're a business that does a lot of webinars or live streaming or even podcasts for your business, go to StreamYard.com and contact your sales department for business pricing as well. And yours truly has been with StreamYard now for over 5 years and counting, and I highly recommend it. Give them a big thumbs up. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio version is on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for Podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. And I do have audio listeners in 80 countries around the world. And I just hit over 11,000 downloads and listens on Spotify. So thank you to everyone for listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the Argo Bounce Podcast Show, and the Small Talk Podcast, which is a monthly show as well on those audio platforms. Finally, guys, you can email me at live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpame19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And also, if you'd like to support, contribute to my media work and my YouTube channel, I'm on paypal.com. Go to paypal.com at Chris Pame or cpame19@gmail.com if you'd like to support my YouTube channel and really like to contribute to my media work, which I have a passion for as well. So either PayPal or you can book a personalized video message from yours truly on cameo.com. And my prices are very fair on Cameo. Finally, guys, you can follow me on Facebook, X, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Threads, Blue Sky, at Chris Pame on Threads, Blue Sky. I'm on all social media platforms except for Snapchat as well. And as we wrap up this show, guys, March Madness on the weekend. The final 8 has been cut down to the final 4. Michigan blew out Tennessee 95-62. So Michigan plays next Saturday against Arizona, and UConn Miraculous comeback, 3-point shot at the Hail Mary at the end. UConn upsets Duke 73-72. So next weekend, it'll be UConn in Illinois and Michigan and Arizona in the Final Four. And like Trevor Thompson just said here tonight, we're going to both pick Michigan to win it all as well. And the Detroit Tigers are back in action tonight. After a day off on Sunday, the Tigers started the season out on the road in San Diego. They took 2 out of 3 from San Diego. And Justin Verlander, future Hall of Famer, Tiger legend, makes his first Tiger start in over 10 years tonight against Arizona. And I believe that game is at 9:40. And we got NBA tonight. The Detroit Pistons minus Cade Cunningham, minus Isaiah Stewart, and they might have a couple other guys out tonight take on the world champion Oklahoma Thunder at 8 p.m. tonight. And then the Pistons are back home, I believe, on Tuesday night against the Toronto Raptors, who just blew out Orlando the other day by 59 points or something like that. So Pistons have a busy weekend ahead of them. They got 4 games ahead of them. So hopefully Cade Cunningham will be back at some point this season, and hopefully he's recovering from that collapsed lung. And Isaiah Stewart is battling with an ankle injury too. So hopefully Stu will be back for the Pistons as well. So Pistons in Oklahoma tonight, 8 o'clock. And Tigers in Arizona at 9:40. And the Red Wings, who are 2 points out of a final playoff spot. They have, 8 games left, 8 or 9 games left. They're 2 points out. They're in Pittsburgh tomorrow night. The Red Wings had a big win against Buffalo Friday night, 5-2. And then they laid down against Philadelphia, losing 5-3. And you know what? Everyone talks about the Buffalo Sabres as the biggest surprise in the NHL this year. The Philadelphia Flyers have been red hot the last month and a half, and Philly is in a position for a playoff spot now under Rick Tocchet. So everybody talks about the job Lindy Ruff has done with the Sabres, obviously. Should be the favorite for the coach of the year. But Rick Tocchet has done a great job in restoring pride and passion to the Philadelphia Flyers. And speaking of the Vegas Golden Knights, with 8 games left in the regular season, they fired Bruce Cassidy and brought in former Rangers coach, Canucks coach, Flyers coach, and former Tampa Bay coach John Tortorella to take over for the last 8 games. So we'll see if that coaching switch does anything for Vegas as well. And that is about it for today's show, guys. I want to say thank you to Trevor Thompson, the longtime reporter and host on Fox Sports Detroit, Bally Fox Sports Detroit, Bally Sports in Detroit, and FanDuel Sportsnet in Detroit. Trevor Thompson for coming on here today to talk a little bit about his career and a little bit about the Red Wings, the Pistons, the Tigers, and Lions as well. And please check out his Believe in Lions podcast with former Lions player, quarterback Grover Quinn, and that's a once-a-week show as well. And Trevor will be doing a few more games for the Red Wings this year as well, and hopefully we can have Trevor back at some point in the future as well. I want to say thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership for being a part of this show as advertiser and sponsor, and I want to say again thank you to you, the viewer and the audience, for coming on here watching. Robbie Schneider, thank you so much for your support, and I love doing what I'm doing, and I'm looking forward to Small Talk Podcast, our monthly show tomorrow night, Tuesday, March 31st, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 on the West Coast. Marlene Sharp, my co-host, joins me along with Diane Strad, and we're going to talk about her executive winning. We're going to talk to her about JDS Studios and her award-winning executive producer career as well. So it's going to be a great show with Diane Strand. And then I have 2 more shows on Thursday and Friday. I'm going to announce very shortly. I hope everybody has a great night. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph, hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme. And as we wrap this show up, if you're a business and you're looking to advertise on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, you can email me at cpalme19@gmail.com or contact me through my DMs on social media. My prices are very rare. My prices are very reasonable and competitive, and I can do a lot to promote your business on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the Argo Bounce Podcast Show, or the Small Talk Podcast. So if you're looking to advertise, check out CDP Media Productions. And again, cpalme19@gmail.com. You can reach me as well. I hope everybody has a great night. Again, thank you to Trevor Thompson, from FanDuel Sports Network in Detroit for coming on here. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to the show. And we'll see you back here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock for the Small Talk podcast. And then we'll be back on Thursday night at 8 o'clock for another edition of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show with a special guest I will announce soon on social media. Have a great night, everybody, and enjoy the NHL games, the NBA games, and looking forward to more sports this week as well. Talk to you all later. And again, thank you so much.